This is the FV217 Badger, a tier 10 heavily armored bunker of a tier 10 tank destroyer. It's got ridiculously strong haul down capabilities. Mounted with a pretty solid gun on damage per minute, you'd think that this is a really good vehicle, but it comes with its fair share of downsides. 30 millimeters on the rear, oh yeah, that's not great. Terrible traverse speed, yeah, that's not great either. Slow on the top speed, not great. Terrible accuracy and on-movement dispersion, yeah. Those are some of the reasons why the Badger can be plagued with big issues. When I play this tank, even though frontally it is a great concept, it just falls apart very quickly. However, I thought of a great way to play the Badger. How about in a double platoon? Because, yeah, one Badger's terrible. How about you do two? And I think I had a bit of a revelation, because me and the mighty Space Bud himself decided to do double Badger platoon. You can see her aiming in on that VK90, got one nice tap into him. Then the Space is going to get one nice tap into him, nice high roll there. Then I'm going to plop on my Adrenaline and get one nice tap into his track wheel. A little bit of a high roll again. Space is going to fire into his track wheel. There we go. And I'm going to fire into his track wheel. Well, yeah, you can see what happened to that poor VK90. Space finishes him off for 441, and with that, we both took off about 1,300, Space took off 1,400, and we killed an entirety health VK90, and he did 0 damage that entire game. I don't know how it worked. I don't know what the absolute heck happens, but I don't know. I actually don't know how this worked, because it wasn't just one game. We did this for one game as a meme. We're like, well, if it worked once, we might as well try it again. And it worked again. And we're like, well, if it worked this time, we might as well try it again. And it worked for about 5 games, and even the game I lost on Canyon, I managed to do about 5,000 buckaroos of damage before we lost. And I was starting to think, it's either that the Badger actually is a good tank, or there's something going on with the teams in Blitz right now. And I honestly can't tell you. I don't know. Because, as many of you know, I have a love-hate relationship with the Badger. Sometimes I'll play it and I'll do great. You know, I'll do 4,000 average damage. I'll have a 90% win rate for the 10 games I play in it. But then I'll pull it out the next day and I'll do terrible. I'll play it and it'll be the worst experience of my life. And it's weird because I can never figure it out. And the reasoning behind why I find the Badger so bad is because teams. That is why I think it's terrible. When you are playing the Badger, you are reliant on your teams to do most of the work for you. Obviously, the Badger can do a great job haul down. And when you get into a scenario like this here, where you're able to just ruin somebody's day in a matter of a couple seconds, this game here, obviously, I didn't really shoot the Projetta there, so I'll just cut to the end. I did 3,900 damage, and I got 155,000 credits. Now, obviously, it was a ×5 and ×2, but still, that's pretty dang impressive, and Space was not shy on the damage either, sitting at 3,000 there. We both did 7,000 combined damage. Not too shabby for our first games in the Badger. So then we did a second one on Mayan Ruins here. Again, you can see Space is running the Badger because we wanted to see how long we could keep this going, and I don't know what to say. It kept on going well. So the question is the Badger a good double platoon, and can you do this with other vehicles? Well, the number one tank that I think would be an amazing double platoon, and if any of you have it, would be Double Object 263. That vehicle has 3,800 damage per minute. It's about 350 more damage per minute than the Badger. I wish this vehicle had about the same DPM or even higher than the 263, but yeah, sadly, I don't think we'll ever see that day come. But the Object 263, if you're running 2 of them, is about 7,600 combined damage per minute. 7,600. That means that you kill a vehicle like a Badger in, I don't know, 10, 15 seconds if you're both shooting at him at the same time. That's ridiculous. That means in the amount of time it takes me to get 1 or 2 shells out in my Badger, you're dead. That's it. You're dead. You know, that's actually insane. So, yeah, Double Object 263. Honestly, any double tank destroyer, if you run them together, double E3, I think does very well. But the reason the Badger did so well on its own is because you can run this thing like an aggressive TD. Now, don't get me wrong. I still think there's many issues with the Badger, and it does struggle. I played it solo after, and it really does struggle. As I said, it's a very team-reliant tank. The issue with the Badger, and by the way, this shot here got me so annoyed. I was like, what? So, the issue with the Badger, and the reason why it loses so many games, is because it's team-reliant. And when you have a bad team, like a game where your mediums are dying, and your mediums die too quickly to get in to support them. You can see here in this game, my mediums died. The only reason we won this is because we were able to get in there quick enough to stop the death from the mediums. By the way, 2 shots there. We took 925 off that poor E50M. And again, I'm going to come over here and give him another tap. I don't know. It just seems like it did very well. But as I was saying, this tank is very team reliant. So if your mediums fell apart, and they normally do, you just die, because there's nothing you can do that stops the enemy mediums from coming up behind you while you're trying to deal with the heavies. You're not mobile enough to deal with both at once or get out of positions. You're just kind of screwed at that point, and that's the end of your game. But I don't know, it seemed to do pretty well here. Another AP shell to the frontal plate of that IS-4. Space is having fun there, trying to pin him as well. I think he actually bounced him on the upper plate. He got really unlucky there. But there we are. Nice penetration on the guy's lower plate. And with that, all we have left is the mouse. And I'm going to skip ahead here, and you're going to watch this mouse bleed. We got a nice 383 into him. And this is, again, where the nice DPM does come into handy. Now, this shell I didn't actually understand, because that should have definitely penned. I've got 270 or 280 millimeters of standard pen. So I loaded a premium this time. I was like, I ain't having that. I'm going to pen that. So there you go. But as you can see, again, the Badger is quite easy to pen. He went right through the lower plate. If you know how to penetrate a Badger, it really isn't hard to pen. It's such a tall vehicle that even when you think you're hauled down, that lower plate really does take up about 30% of the vehicle itself. So yeah, it can be a big disadvantage here. Now that 183 pulled out once again. Got another nice tap into him. Space Boots got the final tap. And with that, reloading. 3, 2, 1, fire! 425, and that was 4,800 damage in the Badger. Again, I don't know what to say. It worked. And again, Space also did pretty dang well, as you'll see, 3,383 damage. So that was the second game. And finally, we go to the third game, where we didn't lose this either. Now, this game, I'll say, wasn't as good for Space, but he still won us the game because he did a good push. And I really don't know what to say. This might be the ultimate double platoon. Let me know what you guys think in Blitz. Let me know what you think about it in the comments, because the only reason I'm making this video, normally I won't, but for any of you that have watched the channel for a long time, you know that I personally have a lot of distrust in playing the Badger. I always find that it gets penetrated through the upper plate. The gun falls very short on the accuracy, which is true. It still falls short very much on the accuracy. But what I'm thinking is, when you run 2 of these, if you run them together, what is the enemy team going to do to you? One Badger, they always want to push on you. And that's something I always learned with the Badger, is one of them, a medium tank, just la-da-da-da-da, pushes right up on you and drives to your side and kills you. Or, you know, you'll have a heavy tank that just trades with you. But when you've got 2 Badgers, it's a very different story, because nobody wants to poke 920 hit points lost there. That's obviously not fun. You don't want to lose 1,000 hit points in a matter of, you know, half a second. So you're going to see, by the way, this standard B, he gets a lot of fun. Now this shot, this is a good example of the gun just not liking me. You can see I fired there. There was a little bit of delay. But yeah, sadly, just sometimes, it might have been even my fault there, but I don't know. It's always a little bit tricky there on the gun's accuracy. But yeah, that's a standard B for you, folks. That was a standard B for you, folks. He's dead. That's all I can say. That's what the Badger's able to do. And this E5 here, this is actually a pretty solid player. He's in a decent clan, and, well, you're going to see what happens to the E5 when 2 Badgers go against him. Oh my god, there you go. There's the standard B rolled up on 2 Badgers. Like, I think that, honestly, the Badger might be one of the best double platoon tanks in the game. It's terrible solo, but the reason it does so well double is because you can't push on it. It is literally a wall of doom. And, well, you're going to see here that this E5 is going to learn his lesson. Now, I'm not sure if he was pushing over here to try and counter us, but the issue was he pushed here alone. But here we go. I'm going to get one nice snap into the side of the E5's turret. You'll notice there's that not-so-great aiming time, so I wanted to wait for that to aim in. Sadly, Space bounced that shell, and, well, you're going to see he's already lost 830 hit points and then lost 1,465. It wasn't even really his fault, just everybody was looking at him for some reason. I don't even get it, but this E5 decided instead of backing up to get a shot in the Space, so I got a shot into the E5. So there you have it. Even though Space died, we still finished off the E5, and with that, still not a bad game, winning pretty dang well. And I really don't know what to say. It really does do a pretty solid job, and I think this was one of the lower damage games, but even then, yeet! Perfect shell into the waffle. That's 2,022 damage now. And you know what I find about this gun is it's not terrible on the accuracy if you let it fully aim in, but the issue is when, of course, you're frontline, you don't always have the time to let it fully aim in. So here we go. Nice shot onto that E3. But you will see a bit of a frustrating shot here. I'm going to skip it ahead a little bit. And I did pen him one more time. But this is where, like, the frustrating stuff from the Badger comes out. Like, what? Hubba-dubba-ba-ba-ba-ba. So, yeah. I have to make my way all the way over to the IS-4. And am I going to be able to get the shell out? Aiming, and fire! Look at that. 463 and able to break the 3,300 damage barrier. That is the Badger. I promise you all three of these games are back to back to back. And even though Space, honestly, he didn't do the best that game, he still did okay. You know, he did 1,500, and he did a great job judging that. We were up against some pretty solid players. You know, these are all 60%ers here, 57%. We've got another 60%er here. We've got, you know, these are not bad players in the enemy team. Most of them are above 50%. Now, the standard B was a little bit lower, but overall, I already clicked on that guy. Overall, pretty much everybody on their team was pretty dang solid. Everybody in our team as well was decent. This is what I wish Blitz was like. Why can't every team be at least somewhat okay? But, yeah, sometimes Blitz teams let you down. So, that's the Badger for you. I averaged 3,600 damage in it for about the 15 games I played in it yesterday, and I went about 69%. Now, obviously, 69% is very high, but at the same time, I'm trying to average about 74, 75% in most of my tier 10s currently, so it still does have a cutoff, but honestly, I think that's the same for most tier 10 tank destroyers currently. They just struggle a lot in tier 10. So I just wanted to make today's video for a bit of fun, tell you that I actually enjoyed playing the Badger. For any of you Badger lovers out there, still don't buy it unless it comes out for really cheap, and this is the thing that I hate about wargaming and making tier 10s collectors, is the fact that you can't get your hands on this vehicle and suffer with me. You have to buy it and suffer with your bank account and then suffer with me. So, yeah, a bit of a downside there. But other than that, hopefully all of you enjoyed today's video. If you want to see more like it, please consider smashing that subscribe button down below. But other than that, stay happy, stay healthy, and I'll be seeing you in the next one. Bye-bye.